Question. When you first heard the name of our group was the Spooks, what you think?
Spooks is on some other script, that's why you be loving it. My crew, that's the product, be glad you discovered it. Hip-hop, original, spook rock, we winning this. Playing in the club, it hits, radio be running it. Spooks is on some other script, that's why you be loving it. My crew, that's the product, be glad you discovered it. Hip-hop, original, spook rock, we winning this. Playing in the club, it hits, radio be running it. Consensus.
What's up? My name is Chenjerai Kumanyika, aka Hypno, from the Spooks, from Tongue Productions. I am an artist, producer, a vocalist, a philosopher, an activist, and currently I'm a media studies student, PhD student at Penn State. So the Spooks consists of myself, Chenjerai Kumanyika, my man Joe Davis from Philadelphia, Booker Tucker, who's from Philadelphia, he lives in New York now, and Ming Shah, or we call her Irina Perez, and she's also from New York. In terms of how the Spooks started, it's kind of difficult to chart the exact moment. We all met each other in like a weird way. We were all doing music and ourselves in our own ways. We had like individual careers and different things. We were part of kind of a scene that was spread out between Philadelphia and in New York. So out of that group of people, which I would say it was initially about somewhere in the range of like 11 or 12 people, there was a core of about 5 people that gelled together, and that was what eventually became the Spooks.
Spook 6 times, Spook 7 times, Spook 8 times, Spook 9 times, Spook 10 times,
The name Spooks is a controversial name. It has various meanings. Spooks, there's currently a show in the UK which is called Spooks, which has to do with spies, so it has that meaning about a spook is someone whose identity, you're not sure of what their identity really is. But Spooks also in the US has a racial history where it was a term used to refer to African Americans, and so that made it complex. We had some radio stations that didn't want to play us because the name carries that connotation. The name Spooks was inspired based on a novel that eventually became a film, and the film was eventually banned here in the US. The film is called The Spook That Sat by the Door, and the book, and it's by Sam Greenlee.
Reality, the story of the first black agent in the CIA.
But who he actually infiltrated the CIA and then quit and sort of used his training to bring back to his community. And so that inspired us, and it made us think of the ways that musicians can come into an industry which really just wants to make money off of them. And we saw ourselves very much like that. We're Spooks, we're coming into the industry with our plan. You know, you have your plan, but this is how we're going to use what we know. In terms of why I call myself Hypno, I kind of was always interested in the way that words could persuade people, and so the ways that, you know, words and music kind of work together to subliminally create people's experience. And what got me into music? Man, what gets anybody into music, right?
Things I've seen, wildest dreams, order reigns supreme. I believe in a burst of peaceful entering, circles turn to violence and scream.
I've seen true genius, too often elude the meaningless appreciation of this mediocre nation. I've heard the mindless repetition of empty words without tradition turn original verbs into submission. And I've tasted the bitter tragedy of lives wasted, and men who glimpsed the darkness inside but never faced it. And it's a shame that most of y'all are following sheep, wallowing deep within the darkness. You're falling asleep.
When I wrote the song Things I've Seen, I was kind of reflecting and meditating on, you never know what you're going to see from one minute to the next, and what does that mean? And so in the video, we decided to illustrate that through the eyes of different kinds of occupations. So you have like someone who works in a mortuary, and what's their take on life? How do they experience life from what they see? And we have like kind of like a rescue worker, and then you have like an EMT. And so I just happened to play the EMT, which was interesting and ironic because although Brian, the director, didn't know it, I was cast in that, but I actually was an EMT before. So early on in our career, we had the opportunity to work with Lawrence Fishburne, and that was an incredible opportunity. Nothing that I foresaw when I was working on our demos in the early parts of our career. And that was great. I think Lawrence Fishburne instantly gave us a lot of credibility in the music industry. He enjoyed our album so much that he actually went to MTV and he went to Hot 97 and places like that and spoke about our group and helped to promote us. And so Lawrence is a real good dude, very intense person. So one big question a lot of people have is, how did you get a deal? How did you actually do it, you know? And I don't have really a sexy answer for him. It just was work. It was just a lot of work, you know? It was work and waiting and making a lot of music too. And eventually we connected from that, wound up connecting through a friend to a record label in Philadelphia. And then, this is what the record label said. They said, okay, you guys are hot. They said, we have somebody who's on the radio. This is what we're gonna do. They said, give us your hottest song. We'll play it on the radio. So we gave them one of our hottest songs, a song called Sweet Revenge. And they took that song and played it on the radio on 103.9 in Philly. And the guy who played it, all he said was, man, when we played it, he said the lights just lit up like Christmas lights in terms of the request lines. Well, who is that? Who is that? So from there, you know, the rest was pretty simple because we knew at that point we had something people wanted.
Venomous revenge, so sweet. Try to do me, apparently don't know who I be. Try to fool me, apparently don't know who I be. Try to use me.
Here are some of the gold plaques that we earned during our career. These basically are plaques that commemorate a certain amount of sales. So that's not something that was easily done. It was a lot of work, a lot of interviews, a lot of shows went into us being able to earn that. So, you know, record sales in and of themselves are not that important to us, but it's just the idea that, you know, our music was able to get out there. It's one of the ways that we measure our success. So in terms of touring, we did a lot of different kinds of touring. There's different kinds of touring, right? There's what you call promotional touring, which is where you're traveling to different places, but the main places you're going to is like television shows and magazines. And you may do some live radio shows that are associated with it, but it's mainly just to promote the album purely.
But tonight it's a special night. It's MTV's 5-night stand, and Bass are definitely in the house. Headlining tonight, they're Philly's finest. They call themselves the Spooks. Make some noise for the Spooks!
Welcome to the Karma Hotel. Looks like heaven but could be hell. Where pleasant screams transform the L's, and every sweet cast is so swell.
Karma Hotel, I'm staying on the 13th floor, suite 004, and wondering what's in store. I'm always down for a night of sin, but first a night swim would be cool. Changed my clothes and went down to the pool. Soon as the water in my skin touched, adrenaline rush. But what's the purpose of that glowing light beneath the surface? I'm kinda nervous, so I'm taught to explore it, but not far before the pool changed into a graveyard. I look around and see hundreds of people laying down at their gravestones. The earth opened and sucked them underground, but I'm not ready to die. Yell to the sky, do I have to follow? A voice said, you might as well. Your life is hollow, filling your emptiness with drugs and cash. But for real though, these vices consistently bring you back to zero. The words echo in my head, suddenly back in my bed, the phone's ringing. I pick it up and hear the voices singing.
Then there's also just what we traditionally think of as touring, and that's like where you're doing, you know, tours at different venues. It might be, you know, 200 people in a venue, it might be 2,000, might be, you know, 20,000. In terms of where the Spooks are now, we still do music together and stuff like that. Occasionally, we still do a show together, although that gets difficult as we get more into the other aspects of our lives. But we still work together on music all the time via computers and things of that nature, or sometimes we'll come together just to record some vocals and stuff. The Spooks are like family, you know. I consider like Book and Irina to be like my brothers and sisters, but we've also had some tragedy in our group. So, you know, one of our members, my brother Gerald Spool, aka Water, has died in a car accident. So he's still with us, but with us in the spirit. And, you know, not a day goes by that I don't think about him, because I spent a lot of time with that cat, and he was extremely talented and just a cool person. Right now, our lives as artists look a lot different than they did during the time when we were making music and touring full time. I obviously am in school, I'm teaching, and I'm, you know, writing music, but then I'm also writing about music. So a lot of people ask me, you know, why did you decide to stop doing music and do academics? I don't see it as a really like having stopped doing music. I just saw it as where am I going to put the main shift of my energy. We spent a lot of time touring during the years of, you know, between 2000 and 2005. And, you know, I was constantly away, you know, from home. We were working on albums. We were touring around the US and to Europe. And I just kind of got to a point where I wanted to live a little bit more of a slow down version of life for a minute. So that was one factor. And I've always had an intellectual side as well. You know, the things that I experienced in the music industry, we had a really unique experience, and it stimulated my intellectual side. There was a lot of questions I wanted to understand about how does this whole industry work? What did I just go through? What was I just involved with? But I don't see it as either. I still do music now. It's just harder to negotiate it with my books and stuff like that, to try to write rhymes and then write some papers and, you know, stuff like that. But yeah. So one of the things I began to do after a while was work with nonprofit organizations, and I do some work with an organization called Street Poets. And Street Poets is a really powerful organization in Los Angeles. And what they basically work on is using music and poetry and art to help youth find their voice and to transform their lives, and at the same time to also allow those youth to transform the culture in which they live. So it's not just about helping the youth, but what I like about Street Poets is also that the youth become healers that can speak to some of the ills and wounds of our society. I kind of function as an executive producer on their album projects, and it's really powerful work that I encourage anyone to check out. And streetpoetsinc.org, and you know, hopefully they can succeed, because during these hard times, organizations like that are really suffering, but with the work that they do is really powerful and important. A lot of times I get younger artists and people who are, you know, just getting into the music business, and they ask me, they say, do I have some advice for them? My advice really is the following. Music has the potential to save lives. Music has the ability to inspire people to do great things. You know, everybody from the president to the homeless person is listening to some kinds of music. Where are you going to fit in that? So think about the impact of what you do and make a lasting change. There's a million people who come and go, but not too many people's music is really remembered. And some people's music who was remembered is not always the people who made the most money. So keep that in mind. Yo, check this out. I'm moving, weaving, and dipping through losing evil and tripping. I can't get bitten cause I see my destiny has been written. But can you see that it's getting tricky for me to keep tricking this evil system that I live in that's impeding my prism? Let me breathe in some wisdom, cause I believe in the hidden forces and rhythm. Best believe it's a given, and so I'm traveling with it to find a source of protection. Check it, all my relations in the sacred directions, confessing, distressing and testing ain't gotta be sour. Y'all just universal lessons in the form of some cowards. And yo, I know the sacred arts that can turn you to flowers until I walk through the dark, straight into my power, soak in these hot showers. And yeah, I hope the streets check it, digest it. My pain is on the flames, butt naked, just trying to lift myself up, then lift my health up, then lift my fam up. So if you feel me, lift your hands up. Yeah, all right, cool.